Here I am.
So you drove all the way in here, man. I'm impressed.
Thanks.
I'm impressed you came in. Oh, you gotta pull this up. Let me get this mic up next to you. There you go.
Is that
I
way
need,
better?
yeah, I need you like right on that.
Okay, all right, no sweat.
You know them drummers, some goddamn drummers,
Singers.
you know, singers, drummers, drummers, singers, same thing. I think, right?
Oh man, unbelievable.
So what's going on, brother?
Not much.
I know there's a lot going on.
There's
it's a loaded question.
Ton going on. First off, wow, the new dig's really, really nice.
It's a little nutty in here,
but it looks great. There is still some kind of a thing that's happening that makes it all make sense.
There's a thing. I don't know what that thing is exactly, but there's definitely a thing going on in here.
It's really nice. It looks great.
Thank
buddy.
you, man.
So congrats.
Same vibe. Do you feel like the same vibe generally as the other one?
Yeah, just bigger and better. That's all.
Yeah, it's definitely bigger in here. I will tell you, it took me 4 or 5 shows, Joe, before I started to feel good. I mean, the first show I did, shame on me, but I had everything in its place, all the cameras lined up right, everything was good, but I didn't do a dry run. Oh. And I was like, whoa, I got this new air conditioning system here, which is fantastic, but I needed to learn about, sound, noise reduction and all that stuff.
SDC ratings and all that.
Then for the first show, you'll appreciate this. One of the mics had a lot of interference, a lot of RF interference.
Right.
It would sound like it was real hollow, really bizarre. And here, I think, although all the cables are supposed to be shielded, whatever that means, one of the cables, I guess, was wrapped around a power cable underneath, connected to one of these crazy lights. And it was causing some kind of RF thing. So I'm learning as I go, right? Because I'm a one-man show. I got to do it all.
Yeah. And
we're okay.
You're the engineer.
I guess.
You are the engineer.
I'm the least qualified person to do anything analytical or anything engineering-wise.
I know.
I
got you.
You guys are, you performing musicians have to have a little bit of that production bent to you, right?
At least
you do.
At least a little bit of it, yeah.
You have a little more than a little bit.
Some are better than others at it,
What do you use in terms of mics? I mean, like when you mic your drums, do you have a specific brand you dig?
Well, I love Shure mics.
I do too.
But there's so many options. With our band, we have Lee Marks is the guy who is our front of house engineer, and he's way into it. He knows everything about killer mics and how to mic the kit and how to mic the band. And, I'm thankful because I'm not super technical when it comes to that.
The reason I ask is sometimes drummers are real specific. I was reading an article about John Bonham, and he was just so fanatical about where his mic placement was. And he would get in these big rows with the producer or the engineer because they would try to move his mic. And he's like, look, I will play and adapt.
Right.
One of my other guests, I think, turned me on to that, and I went and dug in a little bit, and that's exactly what it was. He would get pissed off because he wanted to mic a certain spot, and then he would play according, volume wise, and he would play to the actual recording. He knew enough about how his sound was.
No doubt. And mic placement's huge, and it would only be worse for him now with option anxiety, with all the mics available now and the ways that drums are mic'd and the way that everything's mic'd, and multiple mics on one kick drum and snare drum.
100%.
It would only be worse.
Get this right up to your mouth for me, buddy.
Sure.
No, you don't have to bend it. You can move that up to there you go. Yeah, these are
nice.
These are Shure SB7s, so they're the best broadcasting mic I could afford. But you kind of have to be right on them.
No doubt.
And I'm trying to figure that out too because I've got guests now. They're doing these things. They're sitting back.
Right.
They're pontificating, and I'm like, please, for the love of all that's holy, put your mouth up to the microphone.
Get up on the mic, lead singer.
Yeah, man. So, right out of the gun here, you guys have a pretty big gig happening at Stage AE.
We do.
Let's hear about it.
Well, June 25th.
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday. Sun King Warriors.
Filming,
Yeah. Playing with the Clarks, outdoors, Stage AE. I've played this show before with them. It's one of my favorites, and we're blessed, very, very thrilled to be playing it. So I think doors are at 6, and we'll play probably an hour and 15. I think it is. We have a great set prepared, and then the Clarks are the headliner. buddy, it's the best therapy. There's just no therapy better than that.
I can't imagine. Outdoor, couple thousand people.
Cannot wait. Yeah. So,
is this your first time playing stage AE?
No, I've played stage AE outdoors and indoors.
Okay.
Indoors is more weather permitting or for size. I forget the exact amount, but I want to say indoors is like 2,500 seats, I think, and then outdoors I think is 5,000.
Yeah.
So
a
little bigger. Yeah. So I've played both. But I don't know. It's not the kind of gig that I get to play a ton. So I'm looking forward.
You cherish them, right?
Yeah, I cherish them. I'm looking forward to it as if it's the first time I ever played there. So I can't wait. It's such a great venue. Really nice.
It definitely is, and especially when the weather's nice. Oh.
Well, don't jinx it.
I won't jinx it for you, man.
But I mean, the PA there. The facility itself, it's just so great. So I can't wait. I'm just really thankful, and just happy that we're going to be there doing this thing. I can't wait.
That's June 25th.
June 25th, Saturday.
Yeah, man.
Doors at 6.
So you're now an Ohio resident because you moved from Pittsburgh to Ohio. What was that? So almost 2 years ago, right? Just
about a year and a half, almost.
Yeah. So how you digging Ohio?
Well, I almost feel bad saying this because I'm a Pittsburgher, and I grew up in Wilkins Township in Churchill.
Yep.
My whole life, I was there until I was 51 years old.
Right. But you kind of like Ohio.
But I really like Ohio, and I don't know.
It's close enough, though. I mean, you're back all the time. It's not a big drive.
I'm back for every show, and I have, my family is here. My mother and my sister and my cousins, they're all in Pittsburgh. And for shows, I'm back. And so a lot of the time, I'm driving in on Friday to Pittsburgh and then, do whatever gigs I have.
Right.
Take my mother to breakfast on Sunday morning and then drive back to... I'm in Coventry, Ohio, is where I am, or Portage Lakes area.
Yeah,
so I'm sort of in between Akron and Canton.
Yeah.
So it's an hour and 45.
Hey, you drive for your job anyway.
That's right.
I mean, you're always driving.
Constantly.
You get it.
Constantly.
I'm always driving too. It's like, gotta love them gas prices, man.
I'm a big fan.
He's a big fan.
I'm a big fan. Horrible.
So, okay. Last time we spoke, I think we were kind of like in the height of that pandemic thing. I think we were in the height of it, right? And things were changed. Then you came back with Jim.
Yeah.
And we did a show as the ebb. I think hopefully the pandemic was starting to ebb. You're gigging again. So I want to ask you what I've asked other artists on here. Are you feeling anything that resembles pre-2020, or is it look the same but kind of have a different feel to it? Are people gorked out? Are they? What are you feeling out there performing now?
I think that's a good way to put it. It's getting back to normal, right? The vibe is not exactly the same. People are excited to go back out and see shows and play shows.
You feel that up there?
I feel it. I think the band is just thrilled to be working again.
Right.
Crowds, they're happy. But the vibe is different. I'm a firm believer that COVID is... Well, it has changed things. Maybe not permanently, but the vibe is different, and people are just a little more cautious. And I get it. I get it. Everybody has their own way of dealing with it. But like gig-wise, for the most part, we're just ready to go, and that's great. But I still can't say it's totally like pre-COVID. No.
So if you had to articulate what the difference would be, can you articulate, or is it just a feeling?
It's mainly just a feeling. Even away from stages, I look at places of business that still have the plexiglass.
Right.
Some people still wear masks.
Yeah.
This is just how it's going to be for a while, and it's fine.
Certainly. Well, considering where we came from to where we are now, we'll take it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I'd be interested to get the following from you. I had an interesting picture sent to me by a friend of mine, and it basically, I think I even posted to social media. You may or may not have seen it, but it basically was a photo from a fan. They took a shot of Paul Stanley of Kiss flying out over the audience, and the photo was wide-angle shot.
Right.
And the point of the photo to me wasn't really Paul Stanley or him flying or this little stage he was going to be propped up on. It was the fact that this swath of humanity, everybody had their cell phone up.
Oh, yeah.
And taking, I guess, either a still picture or a video. And the point of the picture to me was like, wow, look at this. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, you guys are at the show.
Right. We used to watch videos at home because we couldn't go to a show.
Right.
Then when you finally got to go to the show, you were at the fucking show.
Yes, ready to enjoy it. And
now look at this now.
Right.
So have you ever, in your moments of the larger crowds you play, you're out there, does it ever gork you out? You look out there and go, Jesus Christ, all it is camera phones. And do you recognize that?
Yeah.
You see it?
Oh, yeah. And sign of the times,
I guess.
I don't love it, but I do. Those are people who are there supporting you and watching the gig and watching you play. So I value that over everything. But I do want to, if I could scream at them in a parallel universe and say, you're here, just be present and watch. I mean, in a way that can sound arrogant or pretentious, but I don't think so. How often do you look at those videos after the gig? Maybe you do a few times, or you wanted to show someone else, or you wanted to post it on social media. Mm-hmm. But the amount, and I'm guilty of it too. When I go on vacation, we all are. When I'm in Vegas or when I'm down in Miami, I take too many photos as if I need to get videos and photos of everything I'm doing down there.
Or it didn't happen.
Right. And that's
a phenomenon.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Because it is. And that's not specific to any one person. That's a cultural phenomenon. Like, reality really isn't good enough anymore, I don't think, unless we're documenting it.
Yeah. And
like there's some kind of arbitrary body we have to prove to that we actually did this particular thing.
Sure.
It's really like we're all drunk.
Yeah.
Because we feel this compulsion to prove we did something.
Right.
But
why?
And to who?
Right.
And who is actually wanting that?
Yes. Who do you need to prove it to? Number
Bingo.
one. Yeah. And why do you need to prove it?
Yeah.
I know. I mean,
I always ask musicians because you guys see it first hand.
Oh yeah. On one hand, like I said, I'm just happy that someone cares enough to want to take a photo.
And they dig it. And I guess
that's great.
Also, there's probably advantages if they're putting that on social. That's obviously helping the band with their marketing. It's a push.
Yes.
That you guys don't have to do yourself.
No doubt. But the problem can be with that if you're having a bad night, or if you don't sound good on a particular night,
that happens.
That
actually happens.
Yeah, it does.
Does that really happen, Joe?
Sometimes. For me, it only happens once every leap year. But yeah, it does happen, and I love that people want to post it, and because they do feel like they're helping the band, and they are most of the time. But if you're having a bad night and someone posts something and that goes out,
that can go viral. Somewhat viral.
It can, and then it could be really painful. And they thought they were helping. But everybody in the crowd doesn't always know if the band's having a killer night or if a particular musician just isn't feeling it on a particular gig.
You folks will be way more critical of yourselves than hearing things that no one in the audience is going to know about.
Definitely true.
So luckily there's that.
Yeah.
But no, I totally get it. I just think that we have a hard time being present.
Oh, definitely. You didn't really have much of a choice, 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
You were present.
That's all you had.
Right, because you didn't have this as an option. But I think it was Bill Burr, great comedian, who said, "Go ahead, just try to be away from this thing and go take a walk in the woods." So within half an hour, most people will be freaking out. Their blood starts boiling, fear of missing out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, what's going on? Am I missing something? Not just emergency phone calls or whatever, but knowing what's going on in the world. This is not always good.
Okay, that's fascinating you said that, because I was embarrassed about my addiction to my device being attached to me or close by.
Yeah.
I started taking these long walks every day. Mm-hmm. It's all right. Right, busting the joint up. Just pops right back on, man. Look at that.
Look how pretty.
I know.
It's
just guys that have to grab the microphone. It's either guests have this compulsion to do something with this or they don't. It's
singers.
a funny thing. Maybe.
Yeah, right.
Could be.
Anyways. Can't take me anywhere.
Can't take me anywhere. I had to admit to myself that I have this compulsion. Like, I want to see if something's going on or I'm missing something. Did I miss a text? Did I miss an email? Because I don't use like audible notifications and I don't use vibrate. My notifications just arrive at my phone and I just know to glance at. That made things worse.
Yes, definitely.
If I hadn't, now you would think if you had all these notifications that would drive you nuts, but at least there would be an alert. I don't have that alert, so I create my own mechanism to deal with it.
To remember to look.
You got it. So that made things worse. So what I did was I put my phone in a sleep mode and I would just listen to my music or podcast, whatever I downloaded, but I put my phone in sleep mode and I take it out. Wouldn't work. I'd invariably find myself 30 minutes in, pulling it out of sleep mode as I'm walking and looking for something.
And checking it.
So finally I went and I got an old school iPod from 2005 or something. I just downloaded my music and podcast there.
So you just listen to that.
Leave the phone at home. And I will tell you, for a couple of weeks, man, it gorked me out until I conditioned myself that this is my norm. For these 90 minutes, Joe, I'm not going to be connected to this thing out there.
Right.
Man, it's like a drug, man. But once I got past it, to see you can reform yourself.
You can. You already did it. You'll remember how it was before cell phones.
Do you ever think about pre-95?
Yeah, I do.
Not cell phones. You think about I say the internet generally 95, 96 before it started to get mainstream. Do you think about pre-95? Do you remember life and what it was like?
I do. I do. And there's parts of it that I prefer. I think many people would say that. Not that there's not, I don't want to just completely be dumping all over technology itself. There's a lot of great advantages to this.
Certainly.
But there's a lot that's negative too. So yeah, when I think about just the late 90s, a lot of things were better. And it mainly is about presence.
Mm-hmm. I loved the concept of a cell phone until social media was born. I mean, having the internet on my waist through a BlackBerry device or something was kind of cool, touchscreen, when the first touchscreens came out. But when social media, that whole thing just overtook what a cell phone was initially created for.
No doubt.
Right? I mean,
no doubt.
I mean, early Blackberries, I mean, I actually, my little claim to fame is I sold the first Blackberry in 97 in Pittsburgh. It was an 850. It wasn't a touchscreen. It was monochrome and it had 3 lines on it, but you could get your email on your waist.
Oh,
fantastic.
Right.
Then it became a little bigger screen. It got color. Not great, but it was really functional. Yeah. You could respond to emails on your waist, which I thought was like, life could never get better than this.
Yeah.
Then the screen started showing you the web content. It's pretty cool, I guess.
Slippery slope.
Yeah, but it wasn't until, MySpace wasn't really a presence there, but it wasn't really until Facebook became accessible on these phones right around 2008 or 9 or 10, maybe 2010.
Yeah.
Man, it overtook what the cell phone was initially intended to do.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And I love it for promoting music. Love it for promoting gigs. I love it for hearing about what my friends are doing musically. But as soon as it's not about something artistic and creative, it can turn sour real quick. You can find out about things that it would be better if you didn't know about. So
no question.
So in that regard, phones can bring a lot of horror to your life that wasn't supposed to be there or that you didn't need to know about.
Yes. So, okay, two ways we can go there. Let me ask you this. When you think back before the internet, you think your pre-95 days, you say there's aspects of life that you liked better before then. Now, granted, we were younger men then, but we were in our early 20s. I'm a little older than you. So generally, we were, late teens, early 20s. Give me the things that you liked better pre-95, aspects of life.
Well, they say ignorance is bliss. I mean, I think a lot of the things I thought back then were just, I mean, I know I was playing drums a ton and practicing a ton, but boy, internet and phones aside, what I thought of the world at that time versus the way I see it now, wow, I was really, really naive back then, completely separate from the internet. And when the internet gets introduced to the whole mix, that is just everything magnified. So the good and the bad of the world are magnified through the internet and through your phone and all of those things. So now it's all right in front of your face. And sometimes because you're conditioned to look at it, again, like I said, you're seeing things that it would have been better had you not seen at all. I think the internet is just magnifying all of it, the good and the bad, into your face. So that wasn't there in the mid 90s and the late 90s. It was better not knowing about a lot of stuff.
Well, I think that's 100% right. And I also believe that to add on to that, we now care about things we probably shouldn't really spend too much time on because our impact is very little.
Right. I would agree with that.
We can't really impact these things, but we're devoting a lot of mental energy toward things that really are not.
Yeah. Dead on.
I don't know.
Dead on. And I think that's where the mental health part of it comes in. It's if things are pissing you off that you see that people say on the internet or on social media or whatever, you got to stop and think, do I need to comment here? I know this comment that someone else made pissed me off, but do I need to be involved? Probably not. And again, you didn't have that issue a while ago, but a lot of that is being able to be your own filter and being strong enough to know what to immediately scroll past. Don't need it. Don't need it.
I don't think that takes a lot of discipline. A lot of thought has to go into that. I mean, humans are lazy now.
Yeah, they are. They are. But if I weren't able to dissect and get rid of those things that piss me off or offend me or whatever, if I had to make a big deal out of every one of those things, I don't know where I'd be. I'd be in a mental institution.
I mean, could you imagine us having this type of connectivity when we were kids?
Yeah. I don't know if it would have been good.
I don't think it'd be good. I know it's a cliche where people from our generation always say, "Oh, thank God we didn't have it when we were kids." Well, there's a lot of validity to that. I mean, not because we were fucking up a lot, doing a lot of crazy shit that we wouldn't want recorded. I get that.
No doubt.
But I also think that there was a different social climate then. Morals were different. Things were different. And again, not saying better, not saying worse. They were just different for the sake of our conversation. But that makes the idea of having all that stuff recorded even more complex.
It sure does. And is that a good thing? Probably not.
Probably not. What about dating back then? I mean, because...
well, I will say it's nice to It's nice to be able to research someone who you're newly hanging out with.
Yeah.
To make sure they're not a psycho killer or whatever.
That always helps.
So you can do that. That's cool.
We were kind of winging it in the early 90s.
Well, there's only so much information you can get from your friends or from whoever recommended you should start hanging out with someone.
Right.
So you had to find out oftentimes the hard way that it was a really bad idea from the get-go and you just wasted a lot of time. So I think that is a really great thing about Google and the internet in general.
But the human condition is the same. I think people are still having the same troubles today that they had prior internet. It's just different, right?
Yeah, and magnified. Narcissism and manipulative conversation and knowing how to detect that and knowing how to get away from it. That all still remains the same. Maybe you get more practice because of the internet and you see it more often.
You see more examples.
You see more examples, and maybe as you get older, you start to be able to detect it more easily. And I know I have been able to. But it's still up to you to do that processing.
Right.
And detect, I really don't like the way that sounded. And I'm not just talking about bullshitting in general. I mean, all the finer points of talking about this, but needing this to happen, ulterior motives, selective outrage. It's you got to be able to read between the lines and filter that out.
Do we know too much about each other now?
Yeah. I especially with people who you connect with on social media from 30 years ago from school or whatever.
Right.
And they're recommended for you to friend, and you friend them because it's nice to see their face.
Sometimes.
Yeah. But then, but then you're seeing way too much about them, and you realize, man, retroactively, I didn't know this much about that person when I was in college with them or when I went to school with them. Yeah. Now I know way too much. It's not always good.
No, one of the best things about Facebook for me, and Facebook's the main arena that I because my brain can't handle all these different social media apps. Like, I don't have a Twitter. I don't have I don't even have a LinkedIn. I guess realtors should.
Sure.
I don't have I have an Instagram and Facebook. I don't have Snapchat and the rest of it. But in Facebook, it was fascinating to me that I was really enjoying connecting with people from my childhood or whatever. That's generally kind of fun.
Yeah, that's great.
But once in a while, you would get connected with someone from your childhood, and either their same bullshit that they were as a child, the same tendencies, the same stuff, the same that you kind of remember. It's a long time ago, but you kind of remember they haven't changed. And the blocking concept has been, I will tell you point blank, I have unfollowed and blocked so many people, oftentimes not out of any malice, not out of any, that you do. I just don't want to be in the virtual sphere. My life is better if they are gone.
Right.
Because I'm generally never going to run into them in the real world. Right. Which I think is still most important.
Sure.
But I don't need to see them. And I think eliminating that nonsense from my life is really, really helped the quality of my online life.
Yes.
And now when I tell people that, they think that's very harsh. I don't think it's harsh.
No.
I'm not doing it to hurt anybody.
It's editing.
It's editing. Good way of putting it, Joe.
Right. And, what if they live in Nebraska?
Okay. Which is sometimes the case.
Right. So what's... is it hurting anything?
Well, again, that goes to the whole uber sensitive thing. People think that they're looking for a problem. They're looking to be egreged. I'm not insulting anybody. If I don't want this person in my sphere because I got a little taste of them.
Yeah.
It's nothing what I remember, or it's everything I remember, but it's not for me right now.
Yeah, and it's taking up space. It's taking up space in your life.
It's just taking up space. And so I'm in this weird sphere where I have all these old Boogie Street connections and Boogie Street customers through it, and they're all there. Then I have all my realtor sphere, and then I have my personal life. And then when they all meld together, It's generally pretty good. Sometimes it's not.
Can be overload.
And I'm learning to edit.
Yeah, because otherwise the PA is feeding back.
Right on, man.
Or your amp is feeding back. It's too much.
It is too much. And that's where, when we talk about pre-95 or today, today I think it's entirely too much.
Yeah.
All the time.
It is. Well, okay.
Everyone all the time.
So we're back to editing again. You've got
Yes.
to edit yourself. You got to do the editing yourself.
It was so much easier pre-95.
Absolutely,
Editing
it was.
wasn't a hard thing at all. I took that phone number and threw it in the trash.
Right. Over.
Unless they came to my door and knocked on the door, they're not going to reach me. Right. I mean,
absolutely true. So there's no question it was more simplified back then. But I still think that the content of the human condition is often the same. There's just more of it. The good and the bad, the ugly, the brilliant. It's all shoved in your face now, and it's multiple times a day. So you gotta weed out what needs to be weeded out. That's all.
Yeah, that's so hard though.
It is
so hard. You're in business, so it's complex for you.
Yep.
I'm in business and I have this thing, and I happen to also have moved back to my hometown. That added another level of complexity because I'm being contacted by other people from my past.
Oh, you're back.
Most of them fantastic,
Yeah.
but most of them, probably not for my life today. Does that make any sense?
No
Not
doubt.
trying to be harsh. I
Right.
mean, it has nothing to do with their economic status, nothing to do with their social status, nothing to do with their academic status.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't have enough hours in the day to be this long lost friend, because I just, that wouldn't be doing a service to this other person.
That's right.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So it's better to do nothing and have nothing there.
Yeah. And people are going to listen to this and watch this and say, we're two dirty,
Yeah.
ignorant people who just are doing people dirty when they're just trying to be kind and connect
Right.
with us.
Well, some of them
Sorry.
are. Yeah. I
There's
would agree
only
with
so
that.
many hours in the day.
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's what Neil Peart said. I can't pretend a stranger is a long-awaited friend. In your case, that is some people who you knew long ago, but it's really the same kind of thing for a situation like that. It's been decades, and we're not in the same place now.
I'll give you a case in point. Man, this is just perfect timing. Like, I connected over this kid for his insane love of music when we were a kid, and Rush was a thing, and I lost track of him 30 years ago, 35 years ago, 40 years ago, practically.
Wow.
And when he tried to come back into my digital sphere and all that, I gave it a shot, and he was completely different. Odd. I'm odd, but I sensed there was things just weren't right.
Yeah.
And the barrage of emails and text messages, and then it just got weird. I had to just, I don't have time for this. It's nothing personal. I mean, I wish everybody the best.
Yeah.
It's not a vindictive thing.
No.
But I'm just indifferent to the circumstance. There's no value to me there.
I
Does it make any
totally
sense?
yes.
But it's hard to articulate that, because people want to look, people want to come from a negative place, and it wasn't that. It just, I can't do it. There's only so many hours.
That's right.
And I think, let me ask you this. Do you think social media has, Facebook did the humanity a terrible injustice when they called your Facebook connection a friend.
Right.
They could have called it anything else.
Yes.
Connection.
Right.
Buddy.
Yes.
Anything
Yes.
but friend. Because
Right.
they co-opted the word. And when Facebook co-opted the word, they fucked up the definition. Because before Facebook, the definition of a friend was definitely different.
Yeah. Way closer and way more involved in your life. And a friend, what the definition that we know of for that word. Now a friend is, oh my goodness.
I don't know what a friend is.
Well, right. It's anybody who you might view. I mean, my real Facebook page that I had for 11 years got hacked. And I've not been able to recover it because Facebook doesn't have any customer service to speak of whatsoever.
They do not.
It doesn't exist.
Everything's digital. You have to send emails or whatever.
But that doesn't work either. But anyway, I had 5,000 friends on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
kind of where I'm sitting now. Right. It's impossible.
It's impossible. Couldn't possibly have that many friends.
No.
So yeah, you're right. It's a misuse of the word, but maybe we're normalizing now. Oh yeah, that's your friend. That's your friend. That's your friend. That's your friend, and then 5,000 more times.
Well, but in theory, it's a nice idea, but you can't. Facebook has co-opted the word. They just have the word friend does not mean what it meant.
No,
before social media.
Absolutely
and
true.
And my kids don't know any different. Like my kids are 21 and 19, so they kind of maybe know what a real friend is in theory. But kids that are probably from they're 10 now or 12, all they know of friends is what this social media platform told them the definition is.
It's what they were born into.
Yeah, man.
Completely different.
It is different. I mean, I think humanity should take that word back, or create another word because, it's
right. I mean, I don't. Is it some kind of easier way to say social media acquaintance? Maybe that's still too
connection,
strong. Right?
Or
social media connection,
buddy. I don't know.
But it shouldn't be as heavy as friend.
And I don't think the creators were thinking about that back when they were doing it in the garage.
Right. No.
But man, it really fucked things up.
Yep. I agree.
The definition of what that even means now.
Totally agree.
Like how when you're. What's the most frustrating part about it for you as a musician? It's when you go out. Has anybody ever gotten upset with you because you first off didn't recognize them because you didn't know them, but you were connected on social media, so they get insulted when you don't know them off the top of your head?
Yes, a lot of anxiety from me because I do feel bad, especially if they've commented or they've complimented me before or they've been to several of our shows.
Right.
You feel like you're supposed to remember. Well, to a degree you are supposed to remember, but
it's impossible.
I'm lucky that the number of people who know me is much more than the number of people who I know. That just goes with the territory.
Absolutely.
So I have a 53-year-old brain now. So I do not remember names that well.
Yeah.
There are musicians who I've played with, not just once, but I've done several gigs with over the years. And I can hear them talking. I can see their face. I just can't remember their name.
Yeah, that's just a human thing.
That's just a human thing. And that doesn't mean I don't love them. But I don't always recall the name. So, yeah, when anyone, especially a fan of the band, because you want to be as gracious as possible
100%.
To anybody who's digging what you're doing and bought the album, and all of that and has questions, you want to be totally cool about that and be as accommodating to them as possible. But if you end up playing the pronoun game with them because you can't remember their name, they're going to be quite insulted that I didn't remember their name. And I get it because I'm not great at remembering names to begin with, but I'm put to the test when it comes to gigs on that. And again, I'm not going to complain one bit because I could be in my basement playing to no one. And then that would solve the problem. So you get my point.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I mean, where do you think we're going, in regards to social media? If you had to, look into society 5 years, 10 years, I mean, hopefully we're all still here, right? There's no massive war or the aliens don't come and grab us.
Right.
But, I mean, can it get any more messy now than it already is?
Yes, it can. I think it can get messier. I think we're moving towards fiction.
Moving toward fiction.
Yeah,
okay.
I do.
Okay.
And again, you talk about hurting people's feelings and whatnot.
Right.
Are you noticing now that it is a real problem to shame someone, even if it's totally justified and the content totally shows you that this person did something that's just lunacy and really stupid and is not redeeming in any way or whatnot. And that might be true, but don't shame them. It's like shaming shame.
Okay, that's funny you brought that word, because that's been the typical probably the most used word on the podcast in the past 4 or 5 episodes.
Oh.
We've been bouncing it around, so I'm going to ask you the question. What do you define shame at? What do you define shame as in 2022? And do we even care? Does shame even hold any weight in society anymore?
Man, this is deep.
That's what we do, buddy.
This is deep.
That's what we do, man.
Yeah. Look, I want to be shamed or at least criticized if I do something stupid. I want that. You call it constructive criticism if you want to do it as diplomatically as needed. But when I screw something up, I want to grow from it, and there's growth there, teachable moment, and I want to fix it so that I don't have to be shamed again. But that's not really the most important part. The most important part is growing and learning from it and fixing that mistake.
100%.
That's why I love recording gigs all the time, as much as I possibly can, because there's a lot of things I notice about my playing as a drummer the morning after when I'm listening back to the gig that I didn't notice while playing on stage.
Okay.
So when you listen back and listen to yourself, there are things where you shame yourself. What the hell did I play that for? And even other drummers or whatever would be like, well, hey Joe, you had a bad performance on that song. It happens. And I'm like, yeah, I sure did. I do not want to be accusing anyone of being mean, or it's like somehow offensive to me that someone pointed it out. I'll never improve. I'll never improve if people aren't shaming me. Call it constructive criticism, maybe would be better. But I think that the embellishment part of like, it's all shame now. You're not allowed to criticize. You're not allowed to constructively criticize because it's all shame now.
Great point.
So again, social media magnifies everything. And as long as someone doesn't like the fact that you shamed someone because they already like that person or whatever, then it's on you for shaming them, right? So again, shaming shame, and I don't care if you were accurate or not. It's not about the content. It's about you shaming. So what the hell's wrong with you?
100%. So a couple things. First, shame, I think, is lost. I think that in a different context, beyond constructive criticism, we'll get there, but the idea that people are doing outrageous things in society today, 15 years ago, the last 20-ish years. Maybe it started with Bill Clinton and what happened in the White House and how it was publicized. And maybe that was the kind of a start of a tamping down the morals and let anything kind of go society.
Sure, maybe.
It's just an event. The Kardashian mother selling the sex tape of the daughter and then building an empire based on the notoriety. I think that kind of tapped down the moral fiber, maybe.
Right.
Maybe. But it seems like now the more outrageous things are, the more crude they are, the more sexually explicit they are, whatever, the more violent they are. If the end product brings notoriety and or money to the person doing it, we somehow kind of give it a pass.
Right.
And that is part of why I think the culture is sick. I mean, I don't know. It's just me.
You're not going to hear a syllable of opposition from me on that. What you're saying is true. I mean, it's just that simple. And I don't think it was that way as much 25 years ago.
Before the web.
Right.
And definitely before social media.
Right. If you're flat out mean about it, well then, yeah, you shouldn't be shaming. But when you bring up a great point because someone just acted like an asshole on some given event, you should have the right to do that without getting this barrage of shamer, shame. It's.
But do we even care? Like, I mean, do you like when you see the amount of let's just say this. When you see the amount of vulgarity, sexual exploitation, and crudeness, when you see that in your face all the time on social media without people shunning that as being distasteful, non-classy, whatever you want to say, but when people accept it as the norm, and then still, and they actually, some of our society elevates those people to an area of prominence. That's where I think we're at now, where maybe two guys in their 50s are looking at this and just saying, this is just insane. Like, I don't know, what world am I living in? You know?
And if you criticize it, you'll be called a fossil.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I don't. The criticism doesn't bother me, but I do think, to your point earlier, it's incredibly bad for society when constructive criticism of any kind gets shamed, or gets beaten down, or the cancel culture rises up and tries to hurt somebody, because you're basically out there saying, wait a second.
Well, but again, this is where it comes down to double standard and manipulation. And again, narcissism and mental health. They all work together. You'll find that criticism or shaming, cancel culture or whatever, it's an opportunity to knock someone down a few pegs who they already didn't like. Okay. If it was someone who they wanted to do damage control for, someone who they liked or loved, it's going to be this. That pass.
The hypocrisy of it.
Oh my goodness. It's the hypocrisy of it, and the selective outrage is. Oh my goodness. It's just over the top. So if someone gets shamed in any way, and a lot of other people want to come to the defense of that person because they like them, well, then there's no way around it, because they'll do it for them because they like them. But if the same exact thing happened
to someone they don't like,
if the same exact thing happened to someone who they don't like, totally different, or you would just hear nothing. This is the thing, it's
happening right now in society.
Well, how many times it's, to me, the sound is deafening. The people who say, shh, don't bring that up, just let that blow over, right? Because it would make their friends look bad, be it socially, politically, or anything. Don't bring that up, right? Because that makes don't allow them to make us look bad.
Well, that's how both political parties work.
I think so.
100%. That's how they both work. All protecting their own. They're covering up their own. If the breaks of their own.
It's political strategists at work. But if they have the opportunity to dump all over someone they don't like, they're going to maximize it.
100%.
Right. The opposite is damage control. Right. So that really gets ugly. And I can remember 10 years ago wanting to be all over the place, getting really angry at people's comments that I felt were disingenuous. As I get older, I'm like, just get me away. So I don't want to have anything to do with this conversation anymore.
I'm the same way. I mean, I definitely was teed off a lot, maybe the early 2010s. Social media was insane to me. I was still growing a guitar business on there, so I had to really watch what I say. But then eventually I was like, this is nuts. But I remember getting into some protracted internet arguments over like policy. It was not really even politics. It was over something. It could have been something as stupid as I don't know. I'll pick a subject like CD, the erosion of CD sales for revenues for bands, and whatever it was. But I would get in these protracted. They started out as discussions. I was trying to maintain my civility. I'm sure I lost my civility along the way. And after a while, I would walk away. I'd shut my phone off for a second or close the laptop and go, wait, what the fuck am I doing?
Right. Why?
This person's out in the ether somewhere, right? Even if I knew them locally, they're still not standing in front of me.
Sure. I totally agree. But again, what if... Put it this way. What if you proved your point beautifully and you explained it eloquently and you won? That would only set that person off even worse, and that would only make that person freak out, and you'd be making the situation far worse for proving yourself right.
Yes.
Okay.
And the question is the word won, like won what? Won the satisfaction of being right? I mean, how are you ever going to get that? Because they're not going to give you the affirmation. They're not going to say, okay, I was wrong. Who the hell says, okay, I was wrong? I would like to think people still do it face to face. I would hope a little bit, but rarely online.
Very rarely. And I love the idea of knowing that if I speak with someone, there's a possibility there that I might listen to them speak, and then I might say, I never thought of it that way. I need to research that. That's something that needs to be possible in the conversation.
We've done that on this show.
Absolutely.
All these we've had moments where all of my guests, that's happened here on this table,
which is a great thing.
I think so. Doesn't happen online though.
No, very, very rarely. Well, here it's a person in front of a person. Online, it's.
But it's
behind a keyboard.
Is it like, so why are we struggling to always be right? Because I think that Americans will die on that hill even when they know they're wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it in politics on both sides. I mean, there's examples. There's hundreds of
examples of
where a certain subject has been proven to be wrong or one way, but if someone likes this candidate or these group of candidates, they will die on that hill, even though they know inside, statistically and factually and scientifically, they've been proven their position's wrong. They'll die on that hill, man, as opposed to just saying, you know what, on this particular issue, I think I'm wrong.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't even take a lot of humility to do that.
That's humans being human, or it should be. The thing that's bad about the internet, though, is that you can find one goofball behind a microphone who does support whatever the hell it is you need supported. So there is a way to find someone who is an authority to support just about anything. And
good point.
This is where, if you're really, really loyal to your company or to a relationship or to a political party or to anything, if you're overly loyal to that, it can become just embarrassing. That much loyalty can really be embarrassing, because it can make you say things and defend people that really shouldn't be defended. But again, being right is most important. So we have way too many people in conversations now with what's driving the conversation is the winning thing, not the right thing. So this is where you see all these circular conversations coming from, where it's two people making points back and forth, but neither of them are trying to find the common ground.
Right.
Neither of them are looking at, hey, where do the lines overlap? Because there's often common ground in a ton of these situations.
There's always common ground.
There almost always is. But I feel like we're purposefully blowing that off. No, I need to pound you into the ground on this, because I need to have some sort of leverage gained by beating you in this conversation.
Yeah.
And this is sad.
100%. Well,
sad stuff.
You can say that compromise now is viewed as weakness in our society.
Right. Oh yeah, and that's really horrible. And
it's extremely horrible.
Look at you. You're doing your part, your little part, with long form conversations with people in front of each other, talking about things like this. Well, thank you. There's not enough of it. I mean,
no, there's not enough of it.
Now there's a lot of podcasts. Well, that's great.
Yeah, they all have a commercial bent to them, though. That's the thing.
Yes.
It's like, I get it's a sales gig, I guess. I don't know.
Sure. But it's people talking in front of each other, an actual physical presence.
Conversation. I want a conversation. And you can, whether there was a sponsor here or not, I was going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I just want the conversation, because if it's not a conversation, then basically it's a sales line.
Yep. I would agree.
It might be couched as something else, but in the end, if there's not a exchange between 1, 2, 3, or 4 people, I'm just not interested.
Right. Well, good for you.
Yeah, I mean, I can get all that shit by watching the television, or you're going to hear a lot of one-sided, and you can't even call them conversations. You can ingest a lot of one-sided conversations.
It's everywhere. It's almost everywhere.
I don't want to be dictated to by anybody.
No, I don't.
And even
either.
if it's really valuable information, because we'll go out and seek what we need, but oftentimes it's never really what you need, because you can't participate back to like refine the information. We're just kind of sucking it in as we get it, and then we have to disseminate it, take what we want, and I don't know. We just don't have physical conversations anymore, Joe. And I think that's what I'm trying to do in my own little world, because it's just, I want to be reminded when things were slower and people thought about what they heard and what they said, and I don't know. I miss that.
Able to read people's facial expressions.
Yeah, I miss it.
Yeah, no, I do too.
And the only reason people watch this show or any podcast, I think, is because deep down inside, listen, for somebody to watch us have a conversation about life, anything, and listen to it and or watch it, it shows to me there's a craving out there for like a real human connectivity when it comes to conversation that folks are obviously not getting in the way we maneuver every day.
They're not. So they have an option to check this out.
It's a shame. They'd rather the other way to look at it, Joe, it's a shame that people are watching other people live their lives. I mean, when you really sit and think about it, before the web, right? I don't know how to say this. Before the internet, there's no television station that would ever take the premise of two people sitting down and having an hour and a half conversation on, current events, or even just like in philosophy or anything, because nobody is going to sit and watch that, because we were out living our lives, doing those kind of conversations every day.
Yep.
Those conversations don't exist today.
No.
So now it's a special thing to watch somebody else having the same interaction we did before the internet.
Right. Absolutely true. I know.
It's nuts.
It is nuts.
It's so insane. If you told me years ago that people weren't going to talk to each other anymore, I would have said, you're out of your mind.
Right. That's what people do.
Right.
For better or worse, that's what they do. Right.
But that's not what people do.
No.
How'd that happen? A slow burn, I'm sure we got here, but like, holy shit.
Yeah. Manipulation. A lot of the stuff you're talking about on TV, a lot of these shows, it's a slow process of manipulating people to bring them on as recruits for whatever the hell it is they need. Bring them on as recruits. Convince people slowly but surely. And this ends up getting into a whole, you're a conspiracy theorist. Nah, I don't know about that. I don't think I'm a conspiracy theorist. I just think that I'm, you and I both, I think we're just awake and aware and processing life as it's coming to us.
Well, we also had that frame of reference, right? So we actually, being in mid-50s, I'm a little older than him, but we were able to see and remember what life was like, because I'm telling you, or anyone out there listening who is younger than us, there was a tidal shift in 95, 96. It wasn't a tidal shift instantly. It had to evolve. But when you look back on it, the introduction to the internet to society, and I don't mean years prior in just the scholastic academic era.
Right,
I mean like the commercial end.
When it really hit.
When the commercial end of it, that started the ball rolling toward less connectivity. You think the idea that we're all interconnected, yeah, I guess it depends on your definition of connected. We lost a lot of human connectivity because this kind of stuff doesn't happen, because it's been replaced. And that was my biggest fear with COVID. I thought we would get through it, but with the proliferation of Zoom, I hate it, because it was like, oh, here we go. Like, now we're going to have excuses why we're not going to go work together in buildings. We're going to literally be like these little satellites communicating all of our feedback, our human feedback, from screens. And I hope that I hope we still have the ability to do this kind of stuff, but Zoom's not healthy.
No, it isn't.
I mean, it might be functional for businesses.
Yeah, and I get that there are times when it's required, but no, I hope it is not seen as the way we communicate in the future overall. I still think conference rooms should be a thing.
Yeah, I do too.
And hanging out at someone's house and just being present.
Yeah, we used to sit in living rooms and dining rooms and coffee.
Right.
And what I don't understand is, people still go for coffee, right? I mean, people still, but that was like such an important thing in the 90s. Coffee houses were a thing, powerful. Starbucks started and came out of Seattle. It was but the internet's kind of killed that off. Now Starbucks are very little seating anymore. The new ones they build, people come in and get their stuff and they go. They're not sitting and talking. And then when you do see someone sitting, they're at a one little table with their headphones on looking into a screen.
And that's that.
Nuts.
Right. And, how important are communication skills? Huge.
Oh, man.
But it's like we're trying to minimize the effect of it because of what's happened.
Yeah.
Media-wise and social media-wise.
What does that even mean? Like communication skills? Like what does that even mean? Like the idea of communication skills. What does that mean in 2022? I know how to turn my phone on. I know how to hit the right button and switch from app to app.
I know how to work TikTok.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
Sad because you've shifted it to the technology as opposed to shifting it from talking back and forth with the human.
The technology should be an aid to our human life, right? For convenience.
Absolutely.
But it really, we're now immersed, and it's, hey, I can't stop anything. Not that I should even try, but we're headed for a virtual world now. People are spending $75 on sweaters for their avatar.
Sad.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, I know. Well,
NFTs, like I know I own this digital art and it's worth this amount of money. Well, listen, asshole, next time it pops up on my screen, I'm going to take a screenshot. Now I own it.
Right.
Fuck you.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
It is.
I'm sorry. If it's an old guy ranting, damn straight, because I don't understand it. Now, if it's a currency and you can show me how it's something to be collected and so forth, okay. But if you're telling me art, which I ingest visually, by the way, I look at it, I see it, I make a thumbs up or thumbs down by seeing it.
Yeah.
And you're telling me now the digital file, which you can share with me on a phone, but now you own that, and that's worth a lot of money. Okay, have fun with that.
Right.
Because I don't understand it.
I don't either. I still feel.
Get ready, it's coming.
Yeah. Art and creativity still has to be there and still has to come from a human.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least it has to be a human working, pushing all the right buttons. I feel that way in music.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much processing there is, nothing is going to be able to beat a real performance by a real experienced musician. Nothing will supersede that. And it doesn't matter how much gear comes out. Nothing will supersede that. I got to meet with Paul Wertico from the Pat Metheny band.
Yeah.
It was an event in Cleveland.
How cool is that?
It was like meeting...
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like I might as well have been meeting Stevie Wonder or Donald Fagen or someone like that. In my world, he was one of the drummers who I just constantly listened to. So now we're both Dream Cymbals artists. Right?
Very cool. Congratulations.
So, man, it's so nice to have him be a guy who we're both endorsing.
It's a label mate.
It is. Yeah, it's really cool. So he was doing a seminar kind of a thing, a clinic in Cleveland.
Right on.
And it was a Dream Cymbals event as well. So I went and I got there right on time. And man, there were 13 people there. And I'm going, oh.
Yeah.
But also, I thought to myself, hey, it's going to be a great chance to talk with them a lot. So I basically dominated the entire clinic.
Good for you.
It was great.
Yeah.
And we talked about a bunch of his stuff with Pat Metheny because he was with him for 18 years.
Yeah.
And I had a great conversation with him about the performance of Pat Metheny's music. And I did a gig recently with Scott Anderson, which when we talked about this, Paul Wertico said that one of the first things that Pat Metheny ever said to him was, hey, I want you playing on top of the rhythm. I want you playing ahead of the beat a touch as opposed to behind and
right.
making it swing and making it feel nice and funky and comfortable.
Push it a little bit.
Yeah, he wanted it above the quarter note. And in these terms, we're talking nanoseconds.
But you can hear it, though.
You can hear it. So Pat Metheny said to Paul, he said, my music is too pretty. He said, if you lay back and play it comfy and groovy, my music's going to sound like half-baked jazz, like Fusac.
I get it.
Up in the the music
Elevator
in the ceiling.
Music, yeah.
So he said to him, he said, Paul, I want you playing on top. He said, the rest of the band will be back just slightly nanoseconds behind the quarter note, but I want you ahead. And I want
play on American Garage?
No, that was Danny Gottlieb.
Okay.
But right after that came Paul.
Paul was right after him. Okay.
I'll send you stuff.
Bright Size Life? Bright Size Life was before American Garage, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this created in the Pat Metheny group, the rest of the band being a hair back of the quarter note.
Interesting.
But Paul Wertico being a hair in front of it to create tension. Well, okay, if we're only talking about gear and we're only talking about media and technology and everything that isn't human, I don't believe you can really achieve this. I don't believe you can achieve what Pat Metheny and Paul Wertico were talking about.
Agreed.
And that is to even be talking about those two guys, like the level of musicianship there is
certainly
above the stratosphere.
Certainly.
Right? And a guy who I idolized from 1985 until right now.
Right on.
That conversation and then going to the stage and executing it and smiling and knowing that you're nailing it, that cannot be done with signal processing. It has to be human.
Well, no, it can't be predictable. It can't be sterile.
Right. And it's not necessarily something that can be dialed in on any gear.
Not at all.
So
and they play off of each other, right? That's the beauty of music, right?
Yeah, no doubt. But it's the human element. And I can only hope that human element remains. It has to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, where are we headed and where are we going? It's some sad stuff.
Was there ever a time in your life, as you look back on music in general, were you ever worried that computers or processing or technology was going to take the humanity out? Were you ever worried about that?
Yeah. Yes.
We can go all the way back to late 70s, really, because early 80s, right?
Yeah. Although I don't think the opportunity was quite there back then as much as it is now. So yeah, that concerns me. I think sometimes a younger band might need the help in a recording situation. I hear stories now about, this younger band or whatever, and they went into the studio and they sound great in the studio.
Okay.
And they go and play live and it's like, wow.
They can't duplicate it.
No, they can't. But they made a great sounding record, album, recording, whatever.
Somebody made a great sounding record.
Yes. So
was it really them?
Right. Was it? This is great in a lot of ways that recording studios can have that kind of power and make a great sounding recording. But these days, you have to play live to make money. It's not like you could sell CDs or albums like you used to. So you got to go, and I would think there would be value in doing a great show live. So how do you do that if you have a recording that's ultimately more about the studio and not about what the musicians played? Now, am I allowed to shame the band? No, I guess not, because now I'm a shamer. But if the band doesn't realize that there's an issue between the way they sound and the way the album sounds, because they recorded in a modern studio, if they're not recognizing that and no one tells them that, then they're going to go and play a lot of bad shows. This is not good. And look, I'm talking about only the bands that are in that situation.
No, I understand.
I think for the most part, musicians are super open-minded and they understand. And when they listen to their own performance, they say, oof, there's a lot of things here we need to fix. And they go into rehearsals and fix things so that their next show is better. I do that to this day. The band does that to this day. You have to do that. Without that, you could be protected by the technology in the studio. And if you never play live, oh, you sounded great. And that's preserved forever. Okay, but bands play live now.
Yeah, they do play live. I think they've always played live. The question is how much of it is actually live.
Right.
That's another thing, too, where tracks, you know, we had this conversation last time. I think tracks is like appalling to me, but it's only appalling because these bands that are using it now, they never used it prior, and they're using it now because of age and all that. I get that. But a younger person growing up today, tracks is always, if they're paying attention, tracks have always been a part of their live music experience.
Yeah.
Wait, so what do you mean they don't think nothing of it? Well, this band had some recording of some stuff going on in the background, and they played along to that, and they don't think anything of that.
Yeah, I see. I guess I become the old guy when it comes to that. I've played to a click a lot, and I've played the tracks a lot. I don't love it. In a recording studio, I understand it more, but I think I'm just kind of selfish about it too. That's one more thing I have to make sure is in my earbuds or in my monitor that I have to be able to hear clearly and play exactly to. Otherwise, it's going to be a train wreck band situation. So to me, that can cause some stress.
Right.
So I'm old school. I'd rather see the band just play everything.
Yeah.
I think that's organic and natural and all of that. But I get it. You know, there's bands who are touring and it's far cheaper. Overhead is less to be using tracks. So they do it. I'm not knocking it. I would just rather not.
I get it. When we were kids, like live albums were a special thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you love the band or you kind of like the band, when they put a live album out, either it was great or it sucked. But you were able to discern.
Yes.
There was a intrinsic coolness that came with like a live recording, right?
Definitely.
But today, there's no delineation between that. I mean, are there live? Are there still live albums being produced anymore, or live recordings being produced?
Well, you could find them on Spotify or YouTube Music or whatever. You can find them there, and I love listening to real musicians and the way that they change the song from the way it was originally recorded to how they're playing it live.
Okay,
I love that. I love when the song grows, and that's a great thing. But no, I don't. I mean, a real live album. Well, Steely Dan just did Northeast Corridor, which is a live release that Donald Fagen just recorded. This came out 6 months ago, and it sounds unbelievable. But it really wasn't a live album per se. Okay, it was last year. Year and a half ago, and they were towards the end of the tour and they were dialed in. Okay. And Steely Dan, I mean, I'm sure you know, like the band is unbelievably good. It's just, I mean, my friend Dee and I saw them.
Fagen's a weird guy, but he definitely put a collection of musicians together. Oh, you got to give him that.
We went and saw them at Heinz Hall last year, and I mean, we just were like, every musician, top of their game.
Of course.
So Donald Fagen ended up doing a live album basically just because he felt the band was killing it at that time. They were like to the last week of the tour. So he got with the front of house engineer and said, let's record like the last week of shows. So that was the Northeast Corridor of the tour. So that's the name of the album. And it sounds unbelievable. I mean, the version of Asia that's on there with Keith Carlock. I mean, it just sounds brilliant. And they do a version of Ricky Don't Lose That Number on there that sounds unreal. Oh my goodness, it's just so great. And Black Cow, it just sounds beautiful. Now that is a live album. Yeah. But it wasn't like he planned on it. Like the gear is good enough now and the musicians are like that. at that level. You can just record from the front of house engineer, record 6 shows, and there's your live album. Very, very, I don't want to say very easy, but it's not like recording a live album, when Frampton Comes Alive or Exit Stage Left or anything like that. It's a totally different thing. So I love live albums, but again, a live album, I guess I'm a purist, a live album ought to be live without doctoring or any meddling of the performance. This is where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, man. I'm like, I don't know anymore when I think about music. And again, I'm not buying a lot of new music, and I haven't for a long time. But I don't know what is quote unquote real anymore, and what's manufactured. Now, again, some of the albums we dug as kids were very manufactured. I get all that, so it's not really fair for me to compare generations. But I don't I don't even know what a live album actually means in 2022.
Right. I understand what you're saying. I do. Unless you dig and find info on exactly how a recording was done, you don't know.
Yeah, and I guess in the end, if people like it, it doesn't really matter how it was constructed.
True.
I guess if they're buying it and paying the money for it,
yes, that's all the proof they need right there. But I mean, look, I get it. Talking this way, it's like, oh, you're an old man. You're a grumpy old man.
We are who we are. We can't change that.
Write it down and I'll sign it.
We just have we have a longer. Again, I think that's a funny thing. Like, if you play off what people say, well, you're an older generation talking about not understanding the younger generation. That's been going on for
forever.
Right.
Centuries.
And that's okay. But we have a longer frame of reference because we can remember things and see things in the kaleidoscope of life, the peaks and the valleys and all that stuff. It doesn't make it right or wrong. And I don't think I'm grumpy about things. I'm sad that society's kind of screwed up in a lot of ways right now, of ways. But I don't begrudge the youth their way of doing things. I just don't have to like it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I don't have to like it either.
Yeah, but I definitely give them the I'm not going to sit there and tell them they should not do that. They wouldn't listen anyways. We didn't listen.
That's right.
Yeah, that's part of being young.
I heard an interview with Vince Gill recently, and the interview asked him, what do you think of modern country music today? And Vince Gill said, I don't want to talk bad about it, but it's not my cup of tea. However, I'm sure that I wasn't Merle Haggard's cup of tea when I played
100%.
in Pure Prairie League in 1973 or whenever that was.
Right.
I'm sure that Charlie Pride and Willie Nelson didn't love what I was doing back then. So if everybody was just liking the same thing all the time, then we'd all be hitting on your grandmother. And no one wants that. So
no one wants that.
So it has to. Part of it is a healthy progression. To me, it all comes down to: are you being truthful, and are you performing genuinely? And look, I wish I were not a better songwriter. I wish I were a songwriter. I mean, I wish I had that ability. I really don't. I can add to a song with what I do, and I have great ideas, I think, but I'm not a songwriter, unfortunately. Being genuine about the songwriting and the performance of the song, being genuine and transparent and thorough in life, socially, with everything we just talked about. This is what the essence of positive being is, and mental health is. And we talked about narcissism earlier. I mean, I'm going through this right now. Some things in life are never going to be right. Some things in life are never going to be corrected, no matter how much you prepare, no matter how unfair you think it is, no matter how much you try to fix things. Some issues in life
100%
are never going to be right.
100%.
It's been, like, for me recently, it's been hell for the past couple years.
Right.
But I'm lucky enough that I'm able to find therapy, and I'm able to find closure where there was none with a bunch of these issues that I'm going through, right? So between having, you find it where you have to find it, between having friends, great friends, great family, and I have all the musicians who I play with.
Right on.
I have the Sun King Warriors. You know, I'm thankful for that, because
certainly
being a music enthusiast, performing music, especially for people who are interested, there's a therapy there that nothing else can do. I've seen psychologists, and they're great, but nothing helps me like playing music.
Right.
Nothing helps me like that.
Right.
I'm sorry to say it, but without it, I'd be in a mental institution.
Got it.
And I mean that in a positive way.
Yeah.
I have the outlet. Fine cigars help.
Absolutely.
Working out helps. Meditation, yoga, I do all that. But music is just the greatest, and I don't know where I'd be without it. I don't.
Yeah.
So I really want to say, shout out to all the music therapists. Jim Donovan. This is what he does with percussion, and Riley and everybody who is a real music therapist, either officially and formally, because that's their gig, or just people who love music and support it and perform it. There's a therapy there that it has to be. It has to continue. I don't believe that psychologists and psychiatrists can do that at that level. And I think there's a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists who would agree with me on that.
Okay.
Maybe not all, but I don't know where the hell I'd be without it. I mean, it's been rough recently.
It's almost like music's almost like magic in a way.
It really is. It really is. And for me, being a music enthusiast, performing it, stand-up comedy as well, I don't ever want to not have it. I have to have it.
Yeah.
I hate to keep stating it, but I don't know where I'd be without it.
Right.
So that is just invaluable, and I don't ever want to be without it. So maybe it's just, as I get older, maybe I'll just be playing in my basement, and doing videos for Sonar, and for Dream or whatever.
Yeah.
I hope that's not soon at all.
Right.
I am so thankful that I have the chance to play with Jim
you're the great band,
and with the Sun King Warriors.
Yeah.
And it's just been awesome. And a couple of weeks ago, I got to play with Scott Anderson and with Pete Hewlett in Finleyville at my cousin's place. And it had been a long time since I played with them. And I remember walking out of there and thinking, man, it was great to play with those guys again, but it's the therapy.
Yeah.
It's the therapy.
Yeah.
So this is what helps you to become at least somewhat comfortable with a horribly uncomfortable situation.
Certainly.
I have a great friend. I have a great friend named Tanya who I was talking to about everything. And she said, look, you've got to figure out a way to find it in yourself to create your own closure if there's none. And you got to figure out a way to become at least somewhat comfortable with the extremely uncomfortable.
Right.
There is a way to do it. And that's where the power is, because you cannot control all of the unbelievably unfair things that are going to happen to you out there.
Yep.
You can't.
Yep. Nope.
So, and when she said that to me, it really resonated like, wow, that's true.
We want to control it. We delude ourselves sometimes into thinking we can control it, but we can't.
We can't. And what we can control is this and this. This is where the mental health part of it comes in. Right. And being thorough and transparent and understanding it and building yourself up so that you have the ability to handle so many of the horrible things that happen in life. It's been really, really rough, but I'm thankful for my friends.
Certainly.
And I'm so thankful for music. It's just, it's the greatest. It's got to be there. And I have it, and it makes me very happy.
Yeah. Well, you're playing with an unbelievable band.
Thanks. Thanks.
That's like, and you're also playing with a band. That's a real band.
I would agree.
You know?
It is
a real band.
It's a band concept, and man, I've been in the band now 7 years already. It's
right on.
wild.
That's hard to believe.
But I think what we do is really unique.
Mm-hmm.
I was in an agency band for 25 years,
right?
And great musicians, but you're playing cover tunes that are basically using standard arrangements all the time.
Sure.
Now it was high level of that, but I was still playing convention centers and high end wedding receptions. So we certainly weren't the focal point, that's for sure.
Sure.
I met a lot of great musicians that way, and I think it helped me to become a better player. But over the past 6-7 years, I've been playing with the Sun King Warriors, and now all of a sudden, it's not just the fact that I could wear jeans and a t-shirt if I want, but we're now playing,
that helps.
Yeah, it does help. But now we're playing original music,
right?
And I got to tell you, it's glorious.
Yeah.
You know, the mental therapy and the music therapy part of it. It wasn't there playing agency gigs. I love the musicians,
right?
But it wasn't there.
Right.
These guys, I can be to the second to last song of the set or the last song of the set and be happy, but be unhappy that the gig is ending, right? Because that's how much fun I'm having,
right on.
And I don't want to stop that,
right?
On. Playing agency gigs, even playing. This is tough to say, but even just playing in a cover band. I've done it for decades,
right?
And it ran its course for me.
Sure.
So playing original music and being able to work on the arrangements with Jim of these tunes and being able to arrange the songs however we want to. There's a certain uniqueness to it that I was craving.
Got it.
I didn't know I was, but I was craving it. So again, I'll thank Jim for the therapy because it's just unbelievable the amount of help that I've received through this music. You know? It's just killer. So yeah, and a whole new family of musicians that I've met. These gigs, we're playing the Blue Heron Festival up in New York coming up, and that's a great festival. A lot of great gigs, and a fan base that's interested.
No doubt.
Really interested.
No doubt. You're just amongst your people, man.
Yeah, we are, and we have a great 5 or 6 minute drum break thing that we do that is all about the therapy, and I thank God for it, man. I know it sounds corny, but
Nothing corny about it at all.
It's just the greatest, and I'm blessed. I'm blessed. So, thank God for it, man. Thank God.
Give me a recap again. What's going on next Saturday night?
Okay, so June 25th, doors are at 6. I'm pretty sure. That means we're probably going to play at 7 to 8:15 is my guess.
Right on.
There's going to be Stage AE, Pittsburgh, where there's going to be a lot of videographers there. We're recording a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, we will have Lee Marks at the front of house engineer, so he's mixing us.
Right on.
So that's only going to make things even better. I believe there's going to be drones doing video as well.
That's insane.
Oh, it's going to be nuts.
That's insane.
It is. But that's one of the good things about technology is we can do cool stuff like that to record these gigs. Because it's just look, we just lost Seals and Crofts.
Yeah.
And that this is what they meant when they said we may never pass this way again. Right? Brilliant song. It was Jimmy Seals, I believe, is who passed away, and he was 81 years old. But
it's hard to believe.
It is. But the thing is I expect that we're going to play Stage AE for a crowd like that a bunch more.
Sure.
But you don't know.
No.
Because we may never pass this way again. So I think you have to record audio, video, everything, because it's special. And when you're feeling down and you feel like life's beating you up, you might want to go back and watch that.
Yeah, man. I mean, we document everything in this world, right?
Right. And I'm not talking about recording with this.
No,
I'm talking about a real video.
Record.
Right. So that is just really, really helpful. And so between those guys and Sonar Drums and Dream Cymbals, I got to mention them.
Absolutely.
I mean, they've just been so helpful. Jim and I both are just loving playing this kit. It sounds like cannons, and our whole system loves them. Mm-hmm. Right? Lee loves them. It's dialed in. I can't wait to hear that kit through that PA at Stage AE. I just can't wait.
Next Saturday. So by the time this gets out, it'll probably be about 4 or 5 days away. Yeah, there you go, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming in, dude.
Hey, listen, Eric,
that's a little bit of a drive for you, so I do appreciate this, man.
Yeah,
but I like our sit-downs, though.
Absolutely. I like them,
too. We'll do more.
Again, it's, this is therapy that I wouldn't normally get, so
right on.
I have you to thank, buddy. I really do.
And also, I'm going to say this now. I'm going to put him on the spot. I'm waiting for Mr. Muckle to come on this.
Yeah.
We're trying to coordinate times.
I saw you just had Bobby in.
I did.
Right.
And then after Matt comes in and we get our one-on-one, I'd like to have you, Bobby, and Matt on the show. I want a drum show, man.
Sure.
And of course, if we ever get Mr. Jim on here again, we'd love to do that too. But
absolutely.
I could do a show with some drummers on
collectively.
Well, that would be some fascinating conversation for me.
It would.
A little dangerous, but
a little dangerous. I mean, I've known Matt a long time. I've known Bobby since '83.
Yeah, right on.
I mean, we grew up together, same high school. I mean, we've been buds a long time.
Yeah. That's what he said.
Just a great guy, and that's the thing. The musicians you meet,
man,
playing. I mean, I'm 40 years. I'm 40 years as a professional musician.
Right on.
Maybe even hair more. And man, the musicians you meet, the people you meet.
Mm-hmm. Never gets old.
Nothing like it, man. Nothing like it.
All right, partner.
Thanks, my man.
Thank you, buddy.
Have a good one.
All right, we're out. That's next June 25th.
June 25th.
Saturday, Stage AE.
See you guys.
See you.